Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I am Allie. Today I have a bookish video for you because I'm finally sitting down to do a TBR again. I think my issue is a lot goes into planning out my TBR. Whether I'm gonna film it or not, kind of not knowing is where I've been at lately. And I meant to film one last month and ultimately didn't because I was kind of in a slump at the beginning of the month, and then I started to come out of that slump, but I just kind of would just pick up whatever and was definitely like a mood reader for the most part. I would love to say going forward I'm going to do a TBR, but I don't know. But I am a little late posting this one because it just so much goes into planning a TBR and trying to figure out every book that I am wanting to read for the month. So I feel like this is a good list of books here. Really thought through, and I hope you enjoy. This may change throughout the month. I may be able to get to all of these. I may not read some of them. I may read other books too. Who knows with me? But I feel like this is a good list of books that are on my TBR, whether they are read in July or not. I'm sure I'm going to get to them eventually. Now, I will say, I have been reading like, I would say 10 to 16 books. I feel like my average the past like few months has been like 12-ish. I would say that's the average. So I would like to get back to like my 16, but usually for my TBR, if I do one, I usually plan for at least 20 books because I'm like, that's a good number of books to pick through if I do become a mood reader, because I should have plenty in those 20 to like really sort through. And if you are new here, I read a variety. I really do. I try to anyways. But I will say my favorite genres are horror and thriller. I enjoy them the most, but I do dabble in a little bit of romance sometimes. And over the past year, I really have gotten more into sci-fi and fantasy. But a lot of the time with those, there has to be like a horror twist. It has to be darker vibes, if you will. But I'm always open for recommendations, so you can leave them down below or let me know what you're reading this month. So the first things that I think about when coming up with a TBR is readathons. So this month, as of right now, the only readathon that I'm going to be participating in is the Summerween. It's just been really busy, and I'm sure there is amazing other readathons going on this month, and unfortunately I'm going to probably sit out of them because the last minute readathons have been killing me lately. I just wrapped on the horror-a-thon, and I'm pretty much jumping straight into Summerween, so I think after that it would be nice to kind of have that rest of the month to just kind of read whatever. I will have the Summerween info linked down below if you guys want to check it out, but it is hosted by Gabby from Gabby Reads, and then Olivia. I believe it's Liv's Library on Instagram, and Olivia Reads Latte on YouTube, but I'm going to have them down below, and you guys can go check out their channels for like the Summerween video. I am vlogging it as well, so I will have that vlog up shortly if you did miss Summerween, or if you participated and want to see how my Summerween went. I am going to be talking about some of the books that I picked for it for my TBR for Summerween as well. After I get through Summerween, I kind of think about other, I guess, like book challenges I'm doing. There is one that I'm wanting to actually fill in. I think it's on Instagram by The Fucking Twist, and she has like a through Z, so you just have to read books with like, you know, that start with A, and then a book title that starts with B, and so on. And I kind of want to do that one and fill it out and just see like how many I've already read this year. So I didn't really plan for that in this one, but I do have the In the Void third quarter bingo. We just wrapped on the second quarter, so I have that to play with a little bit. On the third quarter bingo, besides the quarter 3 selection, which is the book Mary, I actually don't think I'm going to be reading it this month. I think I'm going to put it on my TBR for next month. I like kind of reading it closer to the day of the book club. I've actually missed all of the book clubs because they just have not worked with my schedule this year, but I always kind of like to read them closer to time just in case I can make it. My thoughts are a little bit more fresh on the book. But there's a lot of really fun ones. There's Didn't Win a Past Poll, so we can go through the book club and see like every quarter she puts up like a poll on do you want to read this book or this book with like synopsis and all of that. So yeah, we can just go through those and pick out a book that didn't win one of the polls and read it. There's also just a green cover, a book with a green cover. A book with mixed reviews, which sounds like fun. A TBR Lingerer, which is definitely happening this month. Cursed Object. I'm assuming this is a book with a cursed object in it, so maybe like a possession. Secondhand Find, which is right up my alley because I love doing thrifting and flea marketing for books. Set in a amusement park / camp. I definitely have some of those on my TBR. I don't think this month, although now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of bummed about that. And then a recommendation from a book club member. She's really good about posting on the In the Void page on Instagram, shouting out members of the book club, and she will do like feed post of that person or that member with some of their recommendations. So we can go through and try to find one from there. So I'm definitely going to try to incorporate at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 of these prompts into my TBR, and I'll let you know which ones when we get to them. That is going from July through September, and Summerween may still be going when you guys see this, but it is from July 7th through the 13th. I also have Booksandlala, her Buzzword 2023 reading challenge, and I watched her video last year on this. She was like, okay, let's see if I met all of these books. And so she kind of just wrapped them up at the end of the year and went through all the books she read. She didn't really like, on the template you guys can see, it's over here, you can see that she kind of has it split up in months, and then there's a theme for each month. But I'm kind of doing it like her because some months I don't get to those certain prompts, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that I can get to all of those prompts by the end of the year for my like final book video of the year. But I've slowly been filling this up, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books read. Yeah, for these prompts. And then the ones kind of like floating are kind of like my TBR that I've already kind of picked out because some of the prompts are a little challenging, and these books have been on my TBR, so they are books that like are going to move on over once I get to them. So I want to have at least one of them on this month's TBR. Although I am kind of ahead on it because I do already have 7 done. Next thing that I like to think about is current series that I am reading, or maybe video ideas I've had in mind, or just even read-alongs that aren't technically book clubs, but just something extra that I've currently been doing. And the first one is the Stephen King, the expanded Dark Tower series. Now, this template is made by Beth from the We Read King book club, and definitely shout out to them. It's a great Stephen King book club. They are doing this expanded. They have the book club, and then they have this. So it is a lot going on, and I get a little overwhelmed with it, I'm not gonna lie, but I do want to complete this expanded version of the Dark Tower series, and I'm gonna be slowly working on it. I am starting it this month, but I have been kind of putting it off a little bit, so I don't think I'm going to finish with them, but I'm going to finish in my own time, and I'm still super stoked and excited to do so. I'm also currently doing the Darker Shade of Magic read-along that Victoria Schwab, is doing on her YouTube channel. If you have not read these books, I highly suggest reading them and going along with the readathon. So you read part 1 through part whatever, and then you watch that video on her channel for those certain parts. And she pretty much is like fast-paced reading it for you. She's giving you all the details, walking you through it. So if you have already read it and you're not really like wanting to reread it, or maybe you just need like a little like refresh on the series, check it out. She's incredible, and it's just, oh my god, it's such a cozy and comfortable time just sitting there and listening to her talk about her books. I just freaking love it. And she's doing it for the whole series of 3 books because her newest book is coming out this fall, I believe, or maybe August or September, I can't remember which, but it is starting kind of like a new series, but it's going to pick up, I think, like right after this series ended, so it's gonna have some familiar faces, I believe. So you definitely want to read this series before that series. So it's my first time reading this one. I've never even tried it before, and I am loving it, but yeah, definitely had to include it. Lastly, because I know this intro has been so long, and this is the intro, we haven't even got to the books yet, is book clubs. And if I went through every single book club that I am participating in this year, we would be here forever, because that's what I did last time and it was just so long. So I still am contemplating doing a whole video on my book clubs, and maybe that will come soon, you guys. We're gonna go ahead and jump into them. So the first, I think like 15-ish books are books that are like actual TBR, like I am really determined to read these month. But then I have like, I think 5 or 6, I think I went to 21 books that are kind of just like my like monthly hopefuls. Like hopefully I will get to them as well. But the first 15, I really want to try to get myself to read through. So the first one I have already read, because I have finished 2 books this month. I finished my first one and then I finished another one. But my deal this month so far for Summerween, well, before Summerween happened, I was already reading some books, and I happened to finish A Darker Shade of Magic, which is book 1 in the Darker Shade of Magic series by V. Schwab. And so I did finish that first thing this month. I actually started it last month, at the end of last month, and now I am finishing it. And it took me a little bit longer with them because I was pausing to watch her videos. I did finish it, and I have also finished one of my Summerween reads as I am filming this. But with that being said, before I started this, I had also started another book I will get to in just a minute, and also other Summerween books I've already started. So I have quite a few books going right now that when I start wrapping them up, my list will actually start looking really good. But as of right now, it's the 9th, so I'm not doing as hot as I would like to be, let me put it that way. But The Darker Shade of Magic series is about a guy, Kale. He is what is called an Antari, which is kind of like, I guess you could call it a wizard. They don't really use that term, but there is a lot of magic going on. But there is 4 worlds, pretty much, but they're all London. There's a red London, which is like magical, and then I'm not gonna lie, since I'm new to this series, I really get the white and gray London mixed up a little bit. I believe the gray London is kind of just like not doing great, but not like bad white London, which is kind of like ran by a brother and sister as queen and king, I guess, or they run the kingdom. And where Kel is an Antari for the Red Kingdom, they have an Antari as well for Holland for the white London, and then the Black London no longer exists. It was so consumed of magic that it pretty much like imploded. Like it isn't a thing anymore. It's kind of just like a legend now. And so an Antari they're special. There's only 2 of them, and they have the ability to travel from London to London to London, where nobody else can do that. And so it's been a very fun and adventurous fantasy series so far. I'm really enjoying it. I gave the first book 5 stars already, so sneak peek for that. That's what I get for sitting down to do this so late in the month. A lot happened in the first book, though. It was adventure, the fantasy vibes are there. The characters are so good. I love them so much. Delilah Bard, oh my gosh, now I know why everybody loves her so much. I love it so much. I cannot wait to start the next book, and that is actually book 2, because I may not get to book 3 this month, but I want to read book 2, and that is A Gathering of Shadows, and it is just the continuation of where we left off in the first book. So yeah, I definitely will read that this month so that I can follow along. I did see where she posted that I guess a bunch of the footage for her read-along were corrupted and lost, and they were not able to get them. So she has uploaded herself reading the first chapter of her new book coming out. Well, it's like the prelogue pretty much, which takes place moments after the very end of the 3rd book in A Darker Shade of Magic series. So it picks off moments after that, and so I'm holding myself back. I'm not watching that video until the end. She didn't want to post it till after the read-along, but she felt really bad because all the footage was corrupted and she's going to have to refilm it, so I don't know time-wise, but at least I have a little bit longer to kind of get through the current reads and get back to that series before maybe she starts uploading again. But I do know I have some that I need to catch up on that are already uploaded. So yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up and reading the next one for sure. Book 3 is The Gunslinger, and I have already started this one. This is the book I've kind of been hinting to that like I'm already a majority of the way into this one. And it is one of the shortest reads I think I'm ever going to read from Stephen King. I'm actually quite shocked at how short this is for him, and it's been a little underwhelming so far, but I'm really trying to pay attention. I just actually thrifted and found an actual physical copy because I've just been listening to the audio, and I was kind of following along, but felt like I was kind of getting a little lost here and there, and I'm like, okay, I need to pause because this is an expanded 28 book series with it being the expanded cut. And so I need to pay attention and know what's going on and like actually know what characters I'm like being introduced to, because I have a long road of books and stuff to remember them through. So yeah, I was really excited to find this, and it actually has a bunch of like the illustration in it as well, apparently, or I guess some maybe. Yeah, there is definitely some. This is the beginning of the Dark Tower series. Pretty much the only like synopsis I've really seen on this is that it's a heroic fantasy that is set in a world of ominous landscape and macabre menace that is a dark mirror of our own. A spellbinding tale of good versus evil, it features one of Stephen King's most powerful creations, the gunslinger, a haunting figure who embodies the qualities of the lone hero through the ages, from ancient myth to frontier Western legend. His pursuit of the man in black. So, I don't want to spoil myself too much. I hate reading synopsis before just jumping in blindly because I feel like it gives too much away, so I think that's why I have a hard time with this TBR videos as well. This is the part where we're going to jump into my Summerween TBR. We're just gonna do a little sidebar of this because the prompts for this had to become pretty handy for me for my TBR. The first one is very easy. Read a book in the dark. I have audiobooks. I have a Kindle book. And I do have a couple physical books for this, so I think I can make it work. The hard part is it's read a book in the dark. Do I have to read the whole book in the dark? I thought about my Kindle read. I think it'd be easier if I do like my audiobook, but I feel like I'm gonna fall asleep. if I'm laying in like a dark room listening to a book, I might fall asleep. So, and usually I have to be like moving for that. So I think I'm going to get my Kindle and start reading the book that I have on my Kindle. It's a NetGalley one for me, and I think I'm going to start doing that every night for the rest of the Summerween, so that can count as that, and I'll read the entire book in the dark. But the second prompt is read a thriller, and so I chose The Chateau. This is a mystery thriller. It was the Lights Out Book Club June pick, and yeah, it's my thriller pick for Summerween. A dream girls' trip to a luxurious French chateau devolves into a deadly nightmare of secrets and murder and the stylish, twisty thriller for fans of Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware, and Lisa Jewell. And while I haven't read from a couple of them, and Lucy Foley was just kind of okay for me, I have read or heard very mixed emotions about this one. So now that I'm thinking about it, like this one could be for my book bingo, my thrift finds, potentially. But I also seen that this one was a recommendation from a fellow member of In the Void, so I might use this for that. But now that I'm thinking about it, I need to look more into The Chateau, but I have seen some mixed reviews so far, so I'm going to look more into that, but that could be placed there. Let me know if you guys have read that one. The book that I was talking about before that will potentially be the book that I read fully in the dark is Kaleidoscopic Shades by David A. Newman. It's a horror. It's a NetGalley read for me. And this one actually happens to, I believe, fall in the fall time, which is the next prompt, which is read a book that takes place in the fall. So I was reading that this starts around like September-ish, I guess, the storyline. So I'm hoping it's fall vibes. Either way, it seems like it's going to be a really good like horror. I've also seen that it is kind of like thriller vibes as well. But it says it's an immersive rush of a thriller, a nightmarish Alice in Wonderland. If you are a fan of Stephen King and Stranger Things, you will love Kaleidoscopic Shades with in Black Eternity. Next up, we have read a book with orange or black on the cover. So I chose Pinata. It's kind of like a gradient of orange. But this is by Leopoldo Gout. It is a horror. It was also a pick from the Lights Out Book Club. I'm kind of getting a little bit caught up on that book club this month with my TBR. But it says, a head full of ghosts meets Hereditary and Pinata, a terrifying possession tale by author and artist Leopoldo Gout. So far it's about, because I have already started this one, it is about a mom and her daughters that are living in this certain situation that becomes quite uncomfortable, and the mom is getting like warnings that like something is bad's going to happen, and then the mom, she's kind of like fumbling with work and like so many bad things are going on, and so ultimately she decides to move, but it's almost like something has clung to them and has went with them. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting so far. I haven't actually got to the part where the possession has started yet, but I'm super excited for it, but also like a little worrying about it a little bit because I'm really liking these characters so far. This is another one that I've kind of seen mixed reviews on as well, but it is supposed to be a bone-chilling story about how the sinister repercussions of our past can return to haunt us. I'm excited for it. Then there is read a manga, graphic novel, or a novella, and I chose The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Naw. It is a horror fantasy, and I did already finish it. This was my second book I read this month. This is also for the book Buzzword, because one of the buzzwords was flavors, and I was like, oh my god. And so I seen this book, and I've actually seen a lot of people raving about it, and I was like, salt's a flavor. There we go. It's kind of like a fairy tale that's kind of like dark. It's almost like Grimm Brothers, but it has like a mermaid. It's a very interesting read, let me tell you. It's kind of its own take on like, I would say like a Disney tale. It's not like a copycat version of that at all, but it's just like a more like real like reality of like if there was like a mermaid. Like she would have razor sharp teeth, she would be frightening, she would be, you know, this and that, and then, you know, her children like devoured people, and like it's very gruesome and grim and very shocking, but enjoyable. And lastly, for the Summerween, I decided to also add Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. Yeah, I've been reading it. This is also going to be my TBR lingerer for the bingo, because this has been on my TBR for months. You guys have seen me talk about this book. I am a little over halfway, and it is something else. These three girls go into this abandoned, like, haunted place, and they're trying to convince themselves, like, it's not haunted, or is it haunted? And only two make it back out, and they're haunted by what happened to them. They both have their sides of the story, and the whole book is kind of geared around your own fears and how you view yourself as a haunted house. We have trauma, we have past ghosts that are still haunting us within us. So yeah, it really touches on that mental health aspect. It also touches in on topics such as racism and discrimination and hate within the LGBTQ plus community. And yeah, there's a lot of really heavy topics but they're super important topics as well. And yeah, it's a little bit of a heavy read. Definitely check the triggers, but I have been enjoying it this far. And that pretty much sums up my TBR for Summerween. Next up, I'm going to be reading Jaws this month, which I'm really excited about, by Peter Benchley. This is obviously a horror. This is the classic Jaws, horror with sharks. And, you know, this month is going to be Shark Week, so I'm going to be reading it during Shark Week. And I actually had already planned on reading this, so it just kind of worked out. But someone who is on Instagram, and I really, really enjoy her post so much. You should definitely check her out. Her handle is The Louise Ember, and her book club is Ember's Bookish Cult. And yeah, they're reading Jaws. It is no pressure. It's not really like, from what I gather, it's not like any type of live show. It's literally just a way to discuss books on Discord. And so yeah, check that out. But I'm super excited to read Jaws. Next up, I'm going to be finishing Over My Dead Body. I am pretty close. This is by Greg Melville. I've talked about it in past vlogs. It is my nonfiction, one of them, from my true crime book club that I participate in every month by Spookish Mommy on Instagram. And this is titled Unearthing the Hidden History of America's Cemeteries. It is a nonfiction written by a man who has worked in cemeteries for years as a grave digger, and we learned a bunch of fun facts about cemeteries. We learned about individual cemeteries. It's been a really cool read so far. I actually picked this one up from my library because I've been really stoked by all the reviews I've been seeing about this, and I've just seen so many people say, if you don't pick this book up, we can't be friends. So I was like, okay, I need to pick this one up. This is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. It is fantasy. It says, years ago, a reclusive mega best-selling children's author quit writing under mysterious circumstances. Suddenly, he resurfaces with a brand new book and a one-of-a-kind competition offering a prize that will change the winner's life in this absorbing and whimsical novel. I'm really, really excited about it. It sounds like such a ride and something that I'm really needing right now, and I think it'll be like a good palate cleanser if I'm like in a rut with in between books. I think I'll pick it up around then. And yeah, it's not really for anything in particular. It's just because I seen it and I read that short synopsis and was like sold, and everybody else telling me to read it. So I'm really excited to read it. Next up, this is kind of a book video idea I've had for a long time now, and this is just one that kind of falls into that category. But it is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. It is romance. I did want to have at least one or two romance, I think. I don't know, I think it actually might be 3. But I will be spacing them out this time, you guys. This book has been around for a little bit. Says they say you can never go home again, and for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago that has felt too true. Instead of glittering summers on the lakeshore of her childhood, she spends them in the stylish apartment in the city, going out with friends and keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart until she receives the call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into an orbit of Sam Florrick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. I've actually heard really, really good things about this, and we'll see what happens. My next romance is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've been working on 3 books by Emily Henry recently, and I've already read 3 books, but I did pick this one up too because I wanted to give it a chance because I've had mixed emotions with her work. But yeah, this one is 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, one last chance to fall in love. And I don't know if I'm going to love this or not. I'm hit or miss with friends to lovers, but I've heard good things about this one as well, and I'm kind of hoping it has kind of like beach read vibes because I loved that one. I also have Love Theoretically. This is the next one, Allie Hazelwood. It is her newest, and you guys know I have to read it. Like, she's my favorite when it comes to romance. I don't know what it is, what she does to me. Her books are just not typically what I think that I would like, but I just giggle and just smile and everything else throughout her books. I love them so much. They're so cute. But yeah, this is going to be another woman in STEM that we're going to be following, and I believe this is also like enemies to lovers. I don't really like reading the synopsis of romance too much, or like going into it too much, because I feel like usually romance tends to give everything away in the synopsis, and then I get bored of the book. So I've been trying to avoid it as much as possible. But usually her books involve people who are in STEM, and she sheds light on a lot of things of women being in the workforce and how they are treated, and I love that. And I also love her enemies to lovers so much. She does amazing with that. So yeah, I'm super stoked for that one, and I know I've kind of just flown through those last few without a whole lot of purpose, but it's mainly because they're for like video ideas that I've had or just to read just because. That actually wraps it up. So I actually only put I really want to read these 14 books. So those 14 books are like the must read on, I guess, my TBR. But the rest of these are my hopefuls, so I'm going to try to speed run them a little bit. First up, we have The Delicious Death by Kayla Cottingham. This is horror, but it's also YA. Hear me out. I've heard amazing things about it, and I've heard that even if you don't like YA, you'll love Kayla's work, so I'm going to try it out. I was sucked in by the cover. I seen it at the library and was like, that looks so cool. I want to read that. It says, 4 best friends, 1 music festival, and a cooler filled with human organs. This summer is about to get gory. Sign me up. Jennifer Bodies fans will clamor for this new sapphic horror standalone from New York Times bestselling author Kayla Cottingham. Say less. Next up, The Drowning Woman by Robin Harding. This is a thriller mystery, but again, the cover just kind of like sucked me in, but I'm intrigued. Called A Twisted Story of Friendship, Retribution, and Betrayal about a homeless woman fleeing a dangerous past and the wealthy society wife she saves from drowning, who pulls her into a dark web of secrets and lies. I'm so excited. I actually picked this up from my library, and it's also, I believe, this month's pick for the Lights Out book club, so definitely getting caught up on that book club. The next one is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shannon? I can never remember how you pronounce the first name, and I'm so sorry. McGuire. This is a horror fantasy. This is the Wayward Kids series that I recently have started, and this is book 2 in the series. I believe we follow Jack and Jill in this, but pretty much it is a series about this woman who takes in these kids who have, in some point of their life, have come upon a door and opened it, and they walked into a new world, a world where they either flourished and loved it and existed so well and it was their home, or a world where it was the opposite. And she helps the ones that have went through their door, absolutely loved it, and then kind of been like kicked out. Now she's helping them cope with that and kind of gives them hope that their door will reappear. It's definitely very, very fantasy, but the horror elements keep me intrigued, and the first book was so good. I loved it. I definitely really want to start the second one this month, and they're pretty quick reads, so I believe I'll be able to get it in. Then that takes me back to A Darker Shade of Magic, because the third book is The Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I don't know if I'll get to it this week or this month. Yeah, not this week, this month, but I did list it on my hopefuls because it would be a lot of fun to finish out that entire series this month. I mean, and then the read-along as well. Then I can watch the first chapter of the newest book. I would be stoked for that. I promised just a couple more. I have The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davison. This is a horror, and it's part of the summer horror camp, hosted also by the same person who hosts the true crime book club, Spookish Mommy, on Instagram. And this is a short, so kind of like a novella, irresistible and bittersweet coming-of-age story in the vein of Stranger Things and Stand By Me, about a group of misfit kids who spend an unforgettable summer investigating local ghost stories and urban legends. Right up my alley. This sounds like a book that I am going to freaking love, and I really wanted to read it for Summerween, but I wasn't able to get my hands on it in time, and I was super bummed by it, and I was like, I could order it. I don't think it was going to make it to me in time, so it was last minute thoughts, you guys. But I will be definitely picking it up from my library or ordering it because I cannot wait to read that, and if I can get it in this month, I definitely will. I also have, the last two are thriller mysteries that are definitely on my TBR because they're by authors that I really enjoy, and they are definitely very hyped right now. The first one is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I think everybody has been talking about this. I am waiting on it from my library, contemplating buying it. But it is also the Literally Dead book club and the Book Troops book picks for both of those book clubs this month. So, but like I said, thriller mystery. It says, at 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. That's all I wanted to read from it. I don't want to spoil anything else for me, but I'm already like, I can't wait. It's going to be such a good time. And then the other one is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I definitely have to read this. I actually got it through Book of the Month, one of my months, but this is a mystery about a group of former classmates who reunite to mark the 10th anniversary of a tragic accident, only to have one of the survivors disappear, casting fear and suspicion on the original tragedy. Yeah, those are my hopefuls. So, just to give you guys the rundown of my full TBR, what I'm hoping to get to, really want to read this month. Let me know what you guys are going to be reading this month. Thank you for watching such a long video of just rambling about books I want to read. And here are my hopefuls that hopefully I will get to as well. We'll see. But hopefully I'll let you guys know next month what I actually got to, and follow along in my vlogs because usually I always talk about what I'm reading in them. Man, that was a lot of books. Now I am contemplating life and if I can get to all of these. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I will see you in my next one.
I went to substances, you went to college. I think it's too late to acknowledge our problems. Heard that you're great.